The story begins in the underground black market of Qing City, where people roam in a dark and mysterious atmosphere. A young man appears requesting to sell his kidney and then adds his cornea as well in exchange for a specific amount of money. The doctor examining him looks deeply concerned and explains that his body is utterly exhausted. He had already sold a kidney, spleen, gallbladder, a third of his liver, and parts of his small and large intestines, warning him that selling another kidney means he won't live more than 2 days. But the young man calmly smiles and assures him that it's acceptable if it means saving his very ill sister. The doctor begins preparing for the operation and expresses admiration for the young man's courage, deciding to start immediately without hesitation, while the young man insists that he's ready to endure the pain. Suddenly, the young man screams loudly during the operation. After the procedure, he appears to be in severe pain, feeling it in his knee and hip joint, but tries to hide it. He reassures himself that no one followed him and lifts his clothes to reveal a wound that appears to be regenerating in a strange way. Indeed, the cells in the wound begin regenerating quickly until it heals completely. He smiles while holding the money, stating that he has finally saved enough to perform the job transfer ritual he's been dreaming of. Then he runs off laughing, mocking the story he made up about his sick sister and dying mother, admitting it was all just a lie. He introduces himself as Yi Lin and explains that he is a world hopper, a person who travels between worlds, and that he's just a regular orphan with no sick sister, as he had claimed. Yi Lin continues explaining that this world is full of spiritual energy, monsters, and demons, and that surviving as an orphan here is extremely difficult. The world is filled with fortified caves or demises, and it was very hard for him to stay alive until he discovered his unique ability. He reveals that his ability is bodily regeneration, which allows him to fully recover from any serious injury within minutes and even regenerate lost organs. Yi Lin exploited this ability to sell his organs repeatedly until he saved up 100,000 yuan, the amount required to perform the job transfer ritual, because he knows it's the only way to become stronger. His ultimate goal is to protect himself in this dangerous world and to safeguard those he cares about, especially since today is a very important day. It's the day of the job transfer ritual. When he arrives at the ritual site, some students express surprise at his presence due to his well-known poverty, wondering how he managed to afford the costs. Yi Lin replies to his teacher, Ms. Wang, saying he had to take a job transfer loan, which surprises her. Some students begin to pity him, thinking that if he ends up with a useless job, he'll be working his entire life just to pay off that debt. But Ms. Wang supports and encourages him to enter and participate in the ritual with all his strength. The students gather in front of a massive statue radiating mysterious light and powerful energy, while the ritual overseer calls out the students one by one. The overseer smiles as he calls the next student to step forward. However, some students express concern about receiving support-type jobs, fearing for their future if they don't get a good combat role. A student named Gao Dayu approaches the statue, and the overseer instructs him to touch the statue and relax. The students are disappointed when Dayu is assigned a support-type A-rank job, poultry breeder, and they pity him. The overseer reassures him that there are no useless jobs, only useless people. Then, a beautiful girl named Zhou Nini is called to participate. The students get excited and cheer for her enthusiastically, describing her as amazing. After Gao Dayu finished his job transfer ritual, it was Zhou Nini's turn. She stood confidently in front of the director, who wished her good luck. She thanked him politely. Nini extended her hand toward the glowing statue, and the energy began to flow majestically. A massive wave of orange and red flames quickly swirled around her, signaling the emergence of a powerful force. The director was utterly shocked, exclaiming in astonishment that Nini had become an SSS-rank fire witch, expressing his pride and joy that Qing Academy could finally hold its head high thanks to this result. The students were stunned, unable to believe that Nini, whom they had seen as just a pretty girl, had received the legendary SSS rank. Some of them felt despair, realizing she had now far surpassed them. Yi Lin watched silently, reflecting on the power of an SSS rank fire mage who could rival an entire army, thinking that Nini was incredibly lucky. The director congratulated Nini on her great achievement and promised to prepare a special training plan befitting her new status. After Nini, it was Yi Lin's turn to undergo the job transfer ritual. As he walked forward amid his classmates' mocking comments about his financial situation and the loan he took to afford the ritual, he remained firm and confident. As Nini passed by him, Yi Lin decided internally that he would not be a mere side character in her story. Yi Lin stood firmly before the statue, assuring himself that this long-awaited moment was his chance to change his fate. He placed his hand on the glowing statue, his determined eyes reflecting his awareness that his entire future depended on what would happen now. Suddenly, a massive burst of frost energy erupted, shaking the entire place. The area exploded with an immense icy power radiating from his body, stunning everyone. Yi Lin stood at the center of the storm, the energy surrounding him in a majestic and terrifying display. Everyone was stunned, wondering if Yi Lin, the poor student who had to take out a loan for the ritual, had also received an SSS rank. The director approached in shock, seeing the ice surrounding Yi Lin, and asked in disbelief what this could mean. The director then announced that Yi Lin had received an SSS-ranked combat class, but it was a very rare and special type, Master of Forbidden Curses, which shocked everyone even more. The director himself was taken aback by this dangerous and rare classification, expressing great surprise that Yi Lin had become an SSS-rank Master of Forbidden Curses. The students began to mock him harshly, saying that Masters of Forbidden Curses usually die young, and that the class consumes life force at an extreme rate. Even Nini felt disappointed for Yi Lin's fate, believing it to be incredibly tragic. Yi Lin's thoughts grew darker as he heard his classmates ridicule, calling him a failure doomed to an early death because of the job he had received. He remained silent and disheartened. Trying to encourage him, the director approached and told him it's better to live a short, meaningful life than a long, aimless one, attempting to lift his spirits. Yi Lin felt grateful for the director's words and told him that he too wanted to live a brilliant life and bring honor to the academy. This pleased the director, who promised him a special training plan alongside Jog Nini. Yi Lin smiled to himself confidently, inwardly mocking his classmates' ignorance of his true strength, his ability to regenerate and avoid the early death that typically befalls other curse masters. The job transfer ceremony came to an end, and the students began leaving the area, heading toward the dormitories. While Yi Lin was feeling tired and decided to go home to rest, he suddenly heard someone calling his name. Yi Lin turned around in surprise to see that the one calling him was Jog Nini. Nini approached him and told him she wanted to form a team with him, sarcastically noting that the more a Master of Forbidden Curses fights, the faster they die, and she just didn't want to say goodbye to a classmate so soon. But Yi Lin politely declined her offer, thanking her for the concern and saying he wasn't interested in joining her team. Nini felt annoyed by his response and accused him of being too stubborn and heading toward death because of it, but Yi Lin didn't reply and walked away, leaving her behind in anger. After Yi Lin left his angry classmate, he walked alone, wondering about the strangeness surrounding this day. But soon he found himself confronted by a group of students who stopped him mockingly, ridiculing his new title as an SSS rank curse master. Yi Lin sighed in annoyance and asked them to get out of his way, because he just wanted to go home. The students didn't leave him alone. Instead, they kept bothering him, mocking his tiny home and offering him a lowly job at G Corporation on the condition that he would submit to them. They kept ridiculing him, saying that once he earned some money working for them, he could buy some incense for his deceased orphanage family, which made him even angrier. Yi Lin's fury ignited at their mockery of the family who raised him in the orphanage, and painful, bitter memories started to surge inside him. His eyes widened with sharp, intense anger, and a terrifying aura surrounded him as the students stood in shock. Yi Lin raised his hand high, ready to unleash his power on the students, who couldn't believe what they were seeing and called it madness and a suicide attempt. Yi Lin shouted in rage and attacked them with force, demanding that they never mention his deceased family again. His curse spell hit the area with overwhelming power, forcing the students to move back. They fell to the ground in shock and fear, angrily wondering if Yi Lin had truly gone mad for using such a dangerous forbidden curse against them. Yi Lin calmly challenged them to attack him if they could, but the terrified students chose to run away, screaming that he was completely insane and had a death wish. Yi Lin felt disappointed by how weak his opponents were, fleeing after just one strike, calling them cowards. Still, he began to feel severe pain in his intestines from using the spell and realized that his body was already suffering. That night, Jug Nini stood watching him from the rooftop of a building, thinking of Yi Lin and calling him a fool for throwing his life away over such a trivial confrontation, affirming that he wasn't worthy of standing beside her. Meanwhile, the city lay in the stillness of the night, a quiet calm filling the air. Yi Lin finally reached his small home and sat down to rest after a long and exhausting day, setting his bag aside. He began reading about cursed spells and their effects, wondering with concern if sacrificing a vital organ like the heart to summon the strongest lightning strike would kill him instantly. He soon began to suffer severe side effects from using his power, feeling dizzy and deeply fatigued. His consciousness started to fade as the exhaustion took over, and he began to feel sleepy. Elsewhere, one of the students Yi Lin had attacked screamed in his father's office, demanding revenge and that someone be sent to kill Yi Lin. But the father remained calm, explaining to his son that killing an SSS-rank curse master was too big a risk for their family, especially since Yi Lin was emotionally unstable and unpredictable. Then, the father advised his son to use the family's wealth and exploit Yi Lin's weakness, his poverty. The next day, the students returned once again to Qing Academy. Yi Lin entered the academy feeling sleepy amid the curious gazes of the other students, who whispered about his power and how he had handled Jiling Yu yesterday. Yi Lin was surprised when Jiling Yu himself approached him smiling, holding breakfast and offering it to him warmly. At first, Yi Lin suspected he was trying to poison him for losing the fight yesterday, but Ling Yu sincerely assured him he was thankful. Yi Lin had awakened him and made him realize how empty and meaningless his life had been. Yi Lin continued walking while Ling Yu insisted on expressing his gratitude, saying that Yi Lin's strike had been like a thunderbolt that woke him from his stupor. Finally, Ling Yu suddenly knelt before Yi Lin and sincerely asked to become his younger brother. After Yi Lin was surprised by Ling Yu's request to be his older brother, he mocked him, saying the strike he gave him yesterday must have hit his head too hard. But Ling Yu earnestly and sincerely insisted that after that blow, he reflected deeply on himself and now genuinely wants to become a better person. He sees Yi Lin as a great role model. Yi Lin took advantage of the moment and jokingly asked him to pay tuition fees if he wanted to be his brother. Ling Yu agreed immediately and asked for his account number. When Yi Lin gave him the number and demanded 2 million yuan as first semester tuition, Ling Yu was surprised, but didn't object and agreed, though slightly flustered. Everyone headed to the testing grounds in the stadium, where the supervisor announced that the beginner's secret realm gate had been opened and urged everyone to get ready to enter. The gate appeared mysteriously and impressively, spinning with force and emitting a mysterious blue glow. The students lined up excitedly, chanting victory cheers with enthusiasm before entering the gate, and Yi Lin stood among them beside Zhou Nini. On the other side, teachers from different academies watched the students, having noticed the presence of 2 SSS-ranked students, Yi Lin and Nini, which impressed some and stirred jealousy in others. The headmaster tried to provoke the others, mocking their calm silence. They replied that they preferred action over talk and left the area. The students began entering the secret realm, flying swiftly through the air toward the gate. While on their way, Nini repeated her request for Yi Lin to team up with her, but he calmly refused again. Nini grew annoyed with his rejection and called him arrogant, declaring she wouldn't stop him if he insisted on dying young. Yi Lin rushed toward the gate with full force, excited to begin the adventure. As soon as he entered the secret realm, he descended from the sky into a dense forest at lightning speed. When he landed, he noticed he was alone and wondered if the teleportation had been random. Suddenly, a ferocious tiger appeared before him, roaring fiercely, but Yi Lin mocked it, calling it a little kitten. He decided to use his new forbidden spell, seeing this as a perfect chance to test his power. He cast a devastating spell that immediately defeated the beast, earning him 10 experience points. Yi Lin was surprised at how few experience points he gained, especially considering the damage the powerful spell had done to his body. He realized he'd need to kill at least 100 monsters just to level up once. Soon, a large group of monsters attacked him all at once, and he realized it was a great opportunity to gain a lot of experience. He jumped back quickly, ready to strike, expecting a large experience boost from this group. Yi Lin faced the large group of charging monsters, taking a combat stance and preparing to unleash his forbidden spell again. He clearly announced that he would use the newly learned Curse of Destruction, focusing intensely. Then he blasted the area with immense power using Forbidden Curse, Destruction Burst, causing massive devastation that wiped out all the surrounding monsters. Yi Lin was amazed by the power of his new spell, which could easily destroy the monsters, commenting that it was strong enough to kill even higher-level beasts. He continued fighting with intense enthusiasm, taking down more monsters with great skill and lightning-fast movements. After a short while, Yi Lin noticed that using such a powerful spell had serious consequences. It caused his body to age rapidly, and he decided he couldn't use the spell for more than 1 minute if he wanted to avoid exposing his regeneration ability to others. Despite the heavy physical toll, Yi Lin bravely chose to keep fighting, ignoring the danger to his life, shouting out with determination that he was ready to make further sacrifices for power. He charged forward, continuing the battle with great courage, even as danger closed in from all sides, shouting his full readiness to sacrifice everything. Yi Lin continued his battle using an extremely powerful forbidden spell called Apocalyptic Fire. Glowing circles of intense energy symbols appeared around him as he prepared to unleash his most powerful attack. The spell then exploded with crushing force, destroying everything in its path and creating a terrifying scene of blazing blue flames. Thanks to this spell, Yi Lin managed to annihilate a massive group of monsters and earn a large amount of experience points. He defeated creatures of various levels, such as a level 3 Grey Wolf, a level 2 Killer Bee, a level 5 Two-Headed Snake, a level 6 Armored Scorpion, and a level 6 Centaur Beast. Because of this incredible outcome, Yi Lin immediately reached level 3 and became stronger. He also learned a new forbidden spell called Hellfire Burns the Sky, which filled him with great pride and happiness. Nearby, Jognini noticed the terrifying scene and widespread destruction in the forest, where monsters had been turned to ash by a mysterious force. Leaving her stunned and questioning what had happened here, she approached the scorched remains and recognized traces of the mysterious flames known as Hellfire, which heightened her astonishment and curiosity about who could wield such a rare power. Nini wondered how anyone else besides her could use the fire element within Qingqing Academy, especially since the fire fluctuation she sensed was incredibly strong. She then decided to find out who possessed this hidden power, particularly since she was certain the user was human and potentially as powerful as she was. Meanwhile, Yi Lin was resting peacefully, roasting the meat of a three-eyed demon boar, thoroughly enjoying its delicious taste to replenish the energy he had lost during battle. After eating and feeling full, Yi Lin decided to head to a more distant area to hunt more monsters. Suddenly, Jognini appeared at the location and called out to Yi Lin from among the trees, startling and surprising him with her sudden appearance. She approached him and asked why he was out here alone at this time. Yi Lin felt uneasy about running into Nini and realized he had to be careful not to reveal the truth about his power. He tried to hide the truth and vaguely replied that he was just roasting something to eat, but she scolded him again for not following her advice that forbidden curse masters shouldn't fight alone. She then surprised him by saying it was too late for him to follow her or join her now, leaving him confused by her logic and way of thinking. Nini suddenly changed the topic and asked if he had seen someone very powerful using fire and controlling hellfire. Yi Lin, trying to deflect her suspicions, replied that he had seen a very handsome guy heading in another direction. Nini felt frustrated and blamed Yi Lin, believing he was the reason she failed to catch up to the wielder of the hellfire power. Suddenly she sensed a strange movement above her, and a massive level 8 beast called Dragon-Blooded Giant Beast appeared, attacking her with force and ferocity. Nini quickly retreated from the monster's surprise attack, terrified by the appearance of such a powerful creature here, and immediately realized she was no match for it in this fight. She angrily thought of Yi Lin, assuming he had run away and left her alone to face the danger. She tried to defend herself using the Fireball Storm spell, launching a barrage of fireballs at the beast with great force. But the beast was incredibly strong and launched a brutal counterattack that forced her to retreat. Even so, Nini bravely decided to fight to the end, ready to unleash her most powerful fire abilities. She released a massive wave of her firepower in a final attempt to defend her life against the deadly beast attacking her. Nini continued her attack with full force, launching a massive fire assault. But the powerful beast easily blocked it, and the force of the spell rebounded back onto Nini herself, causing her severe injuries. The victorious giant beast stood watching her as she collapsed to the ground, exhausted and weak. Nini felt frustrated and helpless, realizing how arrogant she had been to think she could face a level 8 monster alone. Suddenly, in her moment of despair, a mysterious figure appeared and unleashed the Forbidden Hellfire spell, its powerful and destructive flames engulfing the beast entirely. Nini stared in shock at the Forbidden Fire's might, quickly realizing the giant beast had been instantly destroyed. She noticed the person who saved her and asked him to reveal his identity so she could thank him for saving her life. A masked stranger appeared before her, introducing himself as Ling Yi, explaining that his name meant dawn and night. Nini felt curious about the true identity of her savior and asked him which academy he belonged to so she could properly thank him. But Ling Yi seemed internally annoyed and uninterested in receiving thanks, simply replying that his help was minor and not worth mentioning. Nini tried to follow him and asked him to wait, but he advised her not to come after him due to stronger monsters deeper ahead. He also pointed out that she should probably take care of her torn clothes first. Nini felt extremely embarrassed and flustered upon realizing her clothes had been damaged and fell to the ground in sheer humiliation. Still, she shouted with determination that she would catch up to him one day and proudly stand beside him. From afar, it was actually Yi Lin who had saved her, pleased that his fake identity had distracted Nini from the truth about his power. He decided he needed to level up quickly without wasting more time. Suddenly, a new forbidden curse skill appeared before him, requiring the sacrifice of 2.5 years of his lifespan to nullify a lethal attack. Yi Lin felt this was perfect for his unique abilities. He realized he could use this skill without fear of death, which meant he could now cast any curse that required sacrificing his heart or head without concern. The thought thrilled him, and he became excited about the possibilities it opened up. Yi Lin now felt capable of taking on level 5 monsters without any restrictions and was eager to advance rapidly in power. On the third and final day of the Beginner Secret Realm exam, the Academy heads gathered in the observation zone, discussing and commenting on the students' performances and levels. Director Su welcomed his old colleagues, who playfully mocked his pride over having 2 SSS-ranked students. Director Su firmly stated that he had full confidence in his students breaking the previous record set by a student from Yuhai Academy. At that moment, their conversation was interrupted by another voice, complimenting the director's taste. As a well-dressed man named Zhuge Qianqing joined the group. He was the top astrologer in Qingqing City and had come specifically to see his daughter, Nini. He politely asked Director Su if Nini had caused any trouble recently, but the director assured him with pride that Nini was a model student and a source of pride for the academy. Suddenly, everyone noticed someone emerging from the portal earlier than the scheduled end of the exam, which sparked their surprise and concern. To their astonishment, the student who had exited early was Nini herself. She approached the directors, greeted her principal and father, and they asked her why she had come out and what her current level was. Nini emerged from the portal, confidently announcing to everyone that she had already reached level 12, affirming her status as an SSS rank fire witch. Everyone was shocked by this declaration, and astonishment was clearly visible on the directors' faces. They couldn't believe the record had been broken so quickly and easily. Her father approached her, scolding her gently, saying that if she had waited until the end of the exam, she might have reached level 13. But Nini replied with boredom, saying she got tired due to the lack of strong monsters and the low experience points. Internally, however, her real reason for leaving early was to find that mysterious person, Ling Yi. Meanwhile, the real Yi Lin was still inside the secret realm and suddenly sneezed for no apparent reason, feeling as though someone was speaking ill of him. Yi Lin noticed that all the monsters in the level 10 zone had completely disappeared and realized he might have gone overboard in wiping them out. He decided to use a new forbidden spell he'd learned to boost his speed, Instant Dance, which required sacrificing one of his kidneys to increase his speed tenfold for a full hour. Yi Lin began racing through the forest at an incredible speed, thrilled by his new extraordinary agility. He covered vast distances rapidly, filled with excitement, shooting like an arrow between the trees. Soon he encountered a group of 3-headed mantis monsters, and he eagerly charged toward them, declaring he would take them all down. Yi Lin prepared and cast another powerful forbidden spell by sacrificing his bladder. The spell Fierce Grey Thunder, which instantly wiped out the monsters before him. After some time, other students began exiting the portal in a state of extreme exhaustion, showing clear signs of fatigue and fear. Nini waited near the portal entrance anxiously, wondering why Ling Yi hadn't appeared yet. With only 5 minutes left before the exam ended, the academy directors began discussing the test results and asked about the second SSS-ranked student who had yet to return. In the final minutes of the countdown, Nini began to worry that she might have missed seeing Ling Yi, despite waiting at the entrance the whole time. Suddenly, someone emerged from the portal, and Nini thought she was finally seeing the mysterious Ling Yi she had been eagerly waiting for. But to her surprise, the person who appeared was Yi Lin, who looked a bit worn out. Her shock was clear, and Yi Lin quietly asked if something was wrong since he was simply returning at the end of the exam. Nini became furious at the sight of Yi Lin, called him a coward, and demanded he stay away from her. Yi Lin was confused by her sudden reaction, wondering to himself if she was sick or dealing with some kind of issue. The academy director approached Yi Lin to ask what level he had reached, and Yi Lin politely greeted him and reported that he had reached level 16. Everyone was stunned and in disbelief, unable to accept what they had just heard, and began questioning how someone could reach level 16 in a beginner's exam. But the director smiled proudly, placed his hand on Yi Lin's shoulder, and declared that he was the pride of Qingqing Academy. Nini tried to explain that as a master of forbidden curses, it was expected for Yi Lin to level up quickly due to the extreme risks involved in using his abilities. Meanwhile, others began speaking mockingly and pityingly about Yi Lin's life, saying he was sacrificing himself and destined to die young for the sake of fleeting glory. One of the directors approached Yi Lin and sincerely asked whether Director Su had pushed him into taking such risks to boost the academy's reputation. But Director Su firmly denied it, saying he would never gamble with his students' lives. Yi Lin responded calmly and confidently, assuring them that no one had forced him. It was entirely his own decision. He said he had lived his whole life poor and looked down upon, and this was his chance to prove himself. He didn't care even if he burned out at the peak of his glory. What mattered was that the world would know he was capable of success. After Yilin confidently and determinedly declared his great ambitions, Mr. Zhuge Qianxing praised him and affirmed that he was the highest-level student in this exam without dispute, expressing his admiration for Yilin's lofty goals. Mr. Zhuge approached Yilin and formally introduced himself as Zhuge Nini's father, offering his support should Yilin ever need it in the future. Nini suddenly interrupted the conversation angrily, declaring that Ling Yi, the mysterious person she'd been waiting for, would be the one with the highest level, not Yilin. This sparked her father's curiosity about this unknown individual. The other directors were also puzzled, as none of them had heard of anyone named Ling Yi, but Nini remained adamant in her belief. Yilin politely requested to leave, and the directors agreed. The academy director asked him to get plenty of rest in preparation for the upcoming official exam in 3 days. After Yilin departed, the exam period ended, and Nini felt deeply disappointed that she hadn't seen Ling Yi exit the portal. She placed the blame on Yilin. Nini's father approached her and tried to calm her down, saying he believed her, then asked if that was the only reason she had exited the exam early. Nini firmly told him she was certain that Ling Yi was someone entirely different from Yilin, but her father found that odd and wondered if she might be confusing the two. Nini adamantly rejected the idea and insisted that Ling Yi's skill was far superior to Yilin's, and there was no way they were the same person. At that moment, Yilin was relaxing at home when he suddenly sneezed again, suspecting that Nini was probably talking badly about him. He sat, irritated and grumbling, wondering why Nini was always annoyed with him. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door, making him wonder who could be looking for him at this hour. Yilin opened the door to find a man who introduced himself as Mr. Wang, the director of Qingqing City's Brain Booster Elixir Company. Yilin asked why he had come, and Director Wang explained that he was there to offer him a promotional opportunity for the company's product. Now that Yilin had become famous for breaking the exam record, with the promise of a very generous reward. When Yilin asked how much this generous reward would be, Director Wang raised 3 fingers and said it was 3 million. Yilin was shocked by the large sum, and Director Wang gave a brief explanation of their magical product, claiming it boosted intelligence and enhanced cell regeneration. Yilin decided that the amount was worth the risk and agreed to try the product. He drank the liquid and found it sweet and pleasant at first, but soon began feeling dizzy and fainted unconscious. Director Wang immediately called someone and confirmed that the plan had succeeded. He also mentioned that backup plans had been prepared and ordered the other person to transport Yilin. A short while later, they moved Yilin to a distant, dark location. Wang asked why his superior was so interested in this particular student. His superior sternly told him to stay out of matters that didn't concern him and ordered him to leave, warning that any meddler would be killed on the spot. The mysterious director approached Yilin and began examining him, amazed to find that all the organs Yilin had previously sold had regrown, calling it astonishing. He happily declared that with Yilin's body, he could uncover the secret of organ regeneration and achieve wealth and power. But he was soon shocked when Yilin suddenly woke up early and sat in front of him with great confidence, which deeply stunned the mysterious director since the drug was strong enough to sedate an elephant for 6 hours. Yilin sat calmly, seemingly more interested in how they managed to track and find him, completely ignoring the man's threats. The mysterious man then decided to reveal his power and identity, Ji Yugen, a level 20 fighter, threatening Yilin to surrender quietly, or he would lose his limbs. Yilin realized he had no choice but to act with force, but decided not to use fire spells to avoid causing a large commotion. Instead, he opted for a different technique. He unleashed a new forbidden spell called Eternal Freeze Gaze, sacrificing one of his eyes, instantly freezing everything in his line of sight. His opponent, Ji Yugen, stood in shock at what was happening. Ice began rapidly spreading around Ji Yugen, who screamed in surprise, unable to understand what was going on. Desperately, Ji Yugen tried to use his weapon to break the ice, but he quickly discovered he couldn't penetrate it. Ji Yugen was deeply shocked, wondering how someone at level 16 like Yilin could so easily overpower someone like him at level 20, believing it was completely impossible. Yilin calmly sat and asked Ji Yugen who else knew the secret of his organ regeneration, but Ji Yugen swore he had never told anyone. Yilin decided to believe him, for now, and said he would end this quickly. He charged at Ji Yugen with full strength, launching a devastating punch, while Ji Yugen stood frozen in disbelief, unable to react. Yilin's punch shattered the ice, trapping Ji Yugen and finished him off completely. After eliminating Ji Yugen, Yilin complained about feeling unwell from what he had drunk earlier, and decided he would sacrifice his stomach later to purge the effects of that drink. Yilin quickly launched a destructive attack on the rest of the conspirators in the area and took them out with ease. He grabbed one of the surviving henchmen and demanded to know the identity of the leader behind this conspiracy. The man hesitated at first, but when faced with the threat of death, he quickly decided to talk. He revealed that their boss was Kinsen, the king of the underworld in Qingqing City. Yilin recognized the name Kinsen and realized he was one of the city's well-known philanthropists, which made the situation even more complicated. Elsewhere in the underground black market, Kinsen was shocked upon receiving news that all contact with his agent Zihu had been lost. One of his men informed him that Zihu had completely vanished, and that the area he was in had been burned to the ground, likely by someone using combat abilities. Kinsen grew furious and ordered his men to find the culprit immediately, with no delay. The next day, Yilin arrived at a grand residence belonging to the Ji family, where he was warmly welcomed by Ling Yu, who had become a loyal follower after previous events. Ling Yu shyly brought up the 2 million yuan that Yilin had asked for earlier, but Yilin immediately silenced him and gently scolded him for mentioning money between them. Ling Yu welcomed Yilin and told him that from now on, he should consider this place his own home. Ling Yu thought to himself that his father had been right when he said Yilin was a simple-minded man who cared a lot about dignity. At the same time, Yilin was thinking that Kinsen's men wouldn't dare attack him inside the Ji family estate. Yilin entered the house and was surprised to find a large number of maids lined up, greeting him politely and respectfully, which left him stunned. He looked at the maids and thought to himself how different life was when one had wealth. Ling Yu offered to assign one of the maids to be Yilin's personal servant, and Yilin jokingly accepted the offer. But soon after, Yilin felt embarrassed and refused, saying he was only joking. However, Ling Yu insisted playfully that he should change his clothes for something important. Yilin eagerly asked what the important matter was, but Ling Yu told him to wait until they arrived at the destination. Eventually, they arrived at the annual Qingcheng auction, and Ling Yu informed him that this was the grand venue he had never visited before. Upon arriving at the annual auction in Qingqing City, Ling Yu told Yilin that he would later introduce him to some of the city's most important figures, but Yilin preferred to start with food, and told Ling Yu to mind his own business instead. Internally, Ling Yu sarcastically commented on Yilin's simplicity and naivety, thinking he still lacked experience due to his poor upbringing. As Yilin ate heartily, especially since he had previously sacrificed his stomach and now needed to compensate by eating more, he heard a voice behind him asking why he was here. When he turned around, he saw Nini and her friend Liu Yanwei standing there. Liu Yanwei asked Nini who Yilin was. Yilin felt annoyed seeing Nini again, wondering to himself why this foolish woman kept showing up in front of him all the time. Nini responded to her friend with displeasure, stating that Yilin was just the coward who ran from the monster in the secret realm, expressing her frustration at seeing him again. Yilin smirked inwardly, wondering what Nini's face would look like if she discovered he was actually Ling Yi, the very person she had admired before. Soon Ling Yu arrived with a group of friends to proudly introduce them to Yilin, presenting him as his superior. The group was surprised by this, with some mockingly commenting that Ling Yu should be the one in charge, but Ling Yu firmly responded that Yilin was no ordinary person and that his level was now very high. Everyone was stunned to learn that Yilin had reached level 16 in the beginner's secret realm, shocked by the huge gap between his level and their own modest ones. Yilin calmly advised them not to be too surprised and expressed his willingness to help them level up if they could get out of the city, saying that would help them perform better in the upcoming major exam. Everyone became excited upon hearing that Yilin was willing to help them, but Ling Yu expressed concern because they were forbidden from leaving the city before the major exam, to prevent students from gaining assistance from stronger individuals. Yilin then subtly hinted that the journey to the exam site itself might be a good opportunity for leveling up, though he voiced concern about lacking equipment. Ling Yu quickly reassured him that equipment would not be a problem at all, and promised to provide anything he needed from the current auction. Yilin was surprised by the offer, but Ling Yu assured him that his father would financially support them no matter the cost if it would improve his exam performance. The auction began with the appearance of the beautiful hostess, who welcomed the attendees and introduced herself as Jing Jing from the auction house, wishing everyone success in obtaining what they desired. Without delay, Jing Jing presented the first item, an epic fire-type skill scroll for mages, starting the bidding at 500,000 yuan. The bids rose quickly until they suddenly reached 3 million yuan. And the bidder behind this massive offer was none other than Mr. Jog Qianxing, Nini's father. Yilin watched the scene calmly with a smile, realizing that Mr. Jog was spending generously to buy skills for his daughter. But deep down he felt satisfied with himself. As a master of forbidden curses, he didn't need such scrolls at all.